Education heavily influences the employment opportunities people have access to. By helping people develop their skills and abilities and providing them access to better employment opportunities, people can live happier and healthier lives and contribute to their communities for a thrivable future. That's why we've invited experts on education, employment, and economies to discuss how new discoveries and ideas can guide us all to a prosperous and thriving world for everyone. They are Mr. Irteza Rashid, a research professional who has worked extensively in the public health, international development, and other fields. Dr. Swati Gupta, a lecturer at the Canterbury Institute of Management, and Professor C.M. Biradar, the chairman and managing director of the Global Green Growth Community of Practices. After their presentations, they kindly took questions from the audience.
I must say that these presentations explore very interesting points and appreciate how they all explore different aspects of education, employment, and economies, and even discoveries towards thrivability. And to this end, I would like to thank our guest speakers for sharing their valuable knowledge and experience with us. After all, even the smallest action in our home, workplace, or even communities make our world more thrivable. Step by step and drop by drop, everything we do make a difference for our planet in our future. So I request all the speakers to turn on their camera. Now I would like to welcome everyone to the question and answer section of this webinar, where you have all the opportunity to ask questions to the speakers, and they will answer them all. Please post your questions in the Zoom chat, and I will ask them our speakers the questions. For this question, anyone can answer. So the question is, most of us are in the room will acknowledge the fact that providing quality education has been a challenge in many unprivileged areas. Would it be possible to discuss some of the biggest challenges and share any example or experience of a successful initiative that has improved education in such areas?
We are working with the school children and the building the school gardens and in fact the rural level, because often people in India go and ask the how many people coming from the agriculture. Almost every kid raise the hands. How many want to do the farming, and no one is raise the hands, right? So and they think that there is no future in the farming. The moment we go and talk about the soil health and future and sustainability, how the food comes, how our living systems are there, and after that the discussion, everything hands on, then ask the end of the day, so how many people want to the farming, I want to live in the villages, everyone raise the hands. So there's a gap is there understanding what the education is all about. Education in India in the most rural area is a job, sitting in the chair and sitting in the living in the urban areas, but landscape that changing that drastically. This is where you require the rural transformation. Means the education is not just about the certificates, it's about the sustainable living that had to be bring it back. So this is where we start the rural movement, working with the farmers, especially the parents. The educating the parents was very important, because often they think that, oh, children go to the farm and they will sick. Like this is very very striking. For one of the international schools, we are organizing the tree planting event, and they're expecting the rain that evening. The next day, everyone, most of the parents, they withdraw the children not going to the tree planting, because of the thing that they'll get sick. So this is the understanding. It's not there. The disconnection is happening that. So we need to the complete different dimension of the educational reform required. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brinda sir. May I ask our next speaker to share their thoughts on this?
Putting up the question, actually, Brenda sir has rightly mentioned that definitely there is a transformation that is required, and that transformation need to come from the mindset. When you are entering into an educational institute nowadays, people are just first thing they are looking into for the placement perspective. That is from the Indian perspective that I am mentioning. But if you talk about in the global sense, here people are more looking into the capability. The reason behind, because I am being an Indian, and I have worked in Indian ecosystem, and now I'm working in abroad as well. So when I compare the is basically our education system that need to be really evolved in terms of giving them that space to raise the question. That's what need to be changed. What we are looking into still that we need to just give them the right answers, but we are not asking them what is the right question that I've already mentioned. So that kind of mindset is required, and that mindset need to be come from mentors like Brenda sir, Rashid sir, and the all the mentors who are there worldwide. They have to deliver to the students that it is the capability that is required and need to be really work on. And there are people like if you being they are coming as a social entrepreneur, and they are contributing toward the rural sector as well, but still there is a huge gap that need to be filled. And Brenda sir has already shared the data and everything, so it is really insightful and that need to be work on. So I hope with this panel discussion, especially from the student perspective, they would be looking forward how they can, instead of becoming a kind of a job seekers, they have to become what we call it as a job creator. So that need to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Swati. Any thoughts from our next speaker, Irteza Rashid?
Thank you. As earlier two speakers have spoken about it, I would like to add some points. In our country, I think access to internet and laptop facilities is really a question in the rural area, because there is lack of electricity when flooding is there. So getting an access to AI or laptop or learning is very difficult for them. And in gender perspective, first comes the male, then second his wife or daughter gets the access. So these are the issues here. So and I mentioned in my presentation that if there is conflicts in the family, then this also hampers the learning system. So these things are challenging, but day by day situations are improving. And I think women are really getting aware of their duties, what they can do, how they can get into a job, how they can change their economic conditions. So they are trying to thrive and improve their situation. So these are also helping to cope up with these situations we are facing. And of course, the transition will always occur. Now we are talking about AI. Maybe after 2 to 3 years, then another thing will come. There will be robots. I think in many countries, I've heard in Japan, robots being used. So the change will always occur, and as human, we are adaptive to changes. So we will be trying to change. But the questions that will create barriers is the economic, social, and political situations and the conflicts that will take the decision how far we can thrive. So this is my answer or the addition to the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts on that. Our next question is from Shakti Ranjan Das for Professor C.M. Biradar. As climate change has bigger impact, sustainable lifestyle is not an option now. It's the necessity. Can you share your thoughts on this?
I agree with that. Sustainability begins where you live and work, right? Often we think about, just take the example of the urban landscape, right? Nearly about 50 to 60% people started moving the urban landscape, nearly more than the rural now. Means all the food, everything producing, and they have to move to the villages, from village to the city. So cities basically they become a consumer, and that turn into the waste. And this is where the sustainability begins, where we live and work. As agriculture professionals, as example, what they ask that one, and adaptive climate smart and low input practices like a natural farming, tree based system, and protecting the soil, water, and support batteries, they become the immense in the surroundings where you're living, right? That's why if you cannot able to go to the nature, bring the nature to where you are living. That's my the framework. And this is where even like I go to schools telling the same thing, that every child born genius, either parents or teachers make idiot. So this is where the biggest the platform where to say the evidence demonstrate scalable models, engage the farmers, institutions, especially early the career, the careers, the growth and students, the influence of policymaker through the actually what you call data-driven evidence-based practices. This is where the climate change has made a sustainability necessary. This is what we need to do that when the practice. That's exactly the what your question asked, that when I'm publishing so many the articles and everything to the different the journal, everything. When I visited my villages, someone asked me that, sir, what do you do? I'm doing a lot of this digital machine learning, the satellite-based agriculture, all the things. So many things we're doing it, but none of them are aware of what I'm doing it. Then I said that all the things will be sitting in the only in the journals, the papers, but not reaching the rural landscape. This is where I started really practicing at the ground level. That's really changed the landscape. I think this is what exactly the need to be practicing, that one that is the visible and that's viable, that is the really sustainable, but then the people adopt it. Not talking the sustainability not work, but showing, seeing and believing is really works.
Thank you so much, Professor Biradar. Our next question is for Dr. Swati Gupta. The question is, you discussed the idea of misalignment between employer needs and employer knowledge. Why do you think such a misalignment has emerged?
Thanks, whoever has put this question. See, there is why this particular misalignment is basically due to what we are delivering as an academician to our students that we are talking about, and what kind of students we are delivering. So they are more into a kind of a qualification that we are talking about, just generating the certificates and everything. But in today's world, with the emergence of technology, coming up with the new technologies into the system, and the complexity of our workplace has drastically evolved so much that this gap is enhancing day by day. So to just narrow down this gap, we have to work on from both the perspective. As a academician, we need to provide more skill set to our students, where they can go to the outside world and try to adapt this complex environment, try to understand problem solving, and that the creativity that is required. And from the employer side, because these both stakeholders, academics and the employer, both have a role played for the job opportunities. So from the employer perspective, they need to be very clear in terms of discussing about what is their key requirement, one number one. Number two, the on job training, which is very much missing in terms from the employer perspective, because as an employer they are not aware what they require from the employee. So that clarity need to become, and once this both alignment is there, so that's why if I not putting it wrong way, what we talk about, there need to be an academic and employment interface that is required. So they both have to sit, they have to come into one platform and provide that kind of knowledge skill set to the employees, which are our younger generation, that need to be provided, so that that gap need to be closed down. And this gap definitely has emerged because of the curriculum that we are providing to our students and from the employer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swati Gupta. Our next question is for our next speaker, Irteza Rashid. The question is, what made tertiary education, such as colleges, attractive to job seekers in the past, and why do you think that there has been a transition to need of lifelong learning?
Thank you for the question. In which I shared the history. So there was like previously we need to learn about how to write an email, how to write a letter, how to write proposals, how to write some common things in the offices, and we used to submit that. Now, the thing is that we are doing the same thing, the letter writing, the proposal writing, but we are incorporating the data. We are using softwares like R softwares, we are using Stata, we are using SQL softwares, Power BI, so that we can generate graphs. We can generate some pie charts, which are easy to understand, not like we are writing a paragraph. We are actually telling the person that the data is showing that you must sell more computers, laptops. Then this product you're selling. So the things are changing. Also, like in international standard organization for like 45001, which I'm doing, there is also some new components which you need to write, like how much wastewater you're treating, how much you are using AI for your employers. Are your employers aware about the things that are happening in the factory? So how do you monitor them? We have finger device where we can actually biometrically record when employees entering the office and getting out. So we are changing the system. Even in computer, some offices are monitoring the employee. Is he using any software? Is he using YouTube's while he's working? So these are changing. Before, in the past, we didn't had some softwares. The employers mostly use the documents, the paper documents. Now for environment friendliness, we are actually saying that softwares are more easily, and you can read PDFs, and you can use software for reading, writing, and research. So that's why I'm saying that you cannot totally change the system, because the student needs to know what is environmental science in the traditional way, like by reading books, by reading journals, listening from the teachers, listening from his professor, what is environment. And then when you try to tell the people that this is my problem, I need climate financing because my women are migrating from one place to another due to climate change, due to riverbank erosion, they are saying, show me some data that you are saying the right thing. That's why you need to learn those software as well. But as my two researchers here respectively said, that in a 4-year structure, it is very difficult to teach so many things, because when a student starts learning, he is an undergraduate student, 18 years old student. So how would he capable with overall learnings? But unfortunately, the transition is still going on, and where AI will end, we don't know. So I think that we can actually try to cope up with this situation so that our students feels that they are safe in this complex environment. I think I have given my answer. Thank you to the person who has asked the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Pradeep, and from India, Karnataka, India, for Professor Biradar. And the question is, more urbanization, less sustainable globally, and your views on this.
Pradeep ji, I think that's very interesting questions, right? And we started looking into the urban growth in the last the 100 years, and most of the human settlements started in the very fertile grounds, the banks of the river, and where sustainability is there. But we're expanding the urban areas at the cost of the healthy soil and good soil, right? So this is one thing. But the urbanization itself is not issue, but the way it is growing, and a design aspect is there. So this is happening today, that often disconnect the people from, a lot of people moving from the rural to urban to seek up the job, disconnect the people from nature, and increase the resource consumption, right? So I'm giving just example of the Bangalore. Here nearly about a 42% of the Karnataka's economy, and 42% of the Karnataka's entire sitting in the small cities, that to one corner of the state, and nearly about 58% of the population living in the urban areas in the state. So that means a lot of the food we grown in the rural areas, they move to the cities, and they become a really dumb pad. So, but this is where the real challenge is there. So the green growth in urban landscape, what we talk about, how we can design aspect, the urban itself is not a problem, but the compact green climate response cities, what we call a climate smart city, is about basically looking into the urban greens, urban forests, food forests, water sensitive design, circular the water systems, energy consumption. Like we're talking about we're designing something for Delhi, and it's a highly polluted city. Just 4% green cover in the roofs reduces the 1 degree temperature, and 23 to 40% the reduction in the aerosols, and the what you call the heat island causing the particles, and reducing the energy cost in even 15 to 20%. This is what really the system change required. And then also looking into the what you grow around the urban areas, peripheries, renewable energy a part of the solution. So in future lies in the nature integrated urban living. And also the decentralizing our system. We are looking at the only capitals, but decentralizing became our district, our village became a kind of aggregation centers, so that nature became a part of everything we do. That's what the green growth is all about. And anything we do, whether industry, whether manufacturing, whether cloth or food, so that our impact on the environment reduces drastically in every possible way. So that's what the main framework is there. I think that's very, very important questions. We need to design the cities, our existing cities, and redesign our living surfaces. That is the future of the urban living, and also decentralizing the sum of the things. Like I was sitting a lot of software job, I see that traffic moving. We calculated about the traffic, the moving because of the slow traffic and the 2 hours. A executive or a doctor or an engineer wasting 2 hours in the traffic is about 37,000 crores wasted happening that every year. But if fixing that one or a designing the where the job and work, the walk to the work kind of the framework, even often we all the job doing in the laptops and sitting in the soft jobs, and they don't need to be sitting in the cities. They can be the periphery. They can decentralize the tier 2 cities there where the real future of the what we call sustainability is going to impact in the larger scale.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on this topic. Our next question is again for you from Sujit Kumar, and the question is: how do we connect the traditional knowledge to the university education, and what is your international experience here?
Very, very the interesting questions, and this just we're talking about linking the heritage, nature, and the culture in our education system. That's very important. Right now, we are looking into the only the job that move away from the cities, move away from the responsibilities, move away from the what can be grown. Looking the sitting in the job like a 60% of the service sector job, they are not doing anything on the ground, right? So that's the real issues right now. And AI taking the lot of the service sector job. India used to be the one of the largest call center or service sector industries, and all the job is sitting in the not doing anything. All the sitting in the soft collar jobs. This is where the real dynamics is going to change. And linking the heritage, right? We are always looking into that our sustainability, looking into the respect in the land, water, air, anything we do the Pancha Mahabhutas. We have to integrate that into our sustainable living, and the sustainability is not just about the framework or something, it's way of living. So we have to adopt in every level. So this is where we started, even like a this planting the small home garden, and we talk about the lot of the food wastage happening. That is in the elite level, not like a poor people wasting the food. It's the rich people wasting the food lost because of. I just giving a few example of the rich communities, and they never buy the food. There is one of their maid or someone is helper. They can bring the food and cut it. They because not they're not the value of the food. When in the COVID times, ask them to grow the one tomato yourself, know the value of the food. The moment they know that one tomato is how tough is growing themselves, then they started valuing the food and respecting the farmers, and there's the food waste drastically reduces. This is one side. Then also the lot of the chemical intensified food systems. They're not only the killing the ourselves and increasing the risk of the health and other, but also the nature and other biodiversity is diminishing very drastically. We're losing a lot of the our traditional the recipes. Then traditional food system they go in because of we're not getting the different grains and the fruits, then the spices, condiment, they go into the recipes. We are only the substituting with something else. Even comes to the Ayurveda, we are doing that as last year, the very interesting, the why the issue of the Ayurveda is happening that because of the 80% of the ingredient going to the Ayurvedic medicine is the alternative or something substitutes, not the real one. So this is because of not really getting that one. I think this is where the real issues we have. So the sustainability and livability and thrivability is what you all call about. We have to adopt into our day-to-day life systems. And there's a way to do it because we have different models here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. So, our next question is for our next speaker, Irteza Rashid. The question is: you mentioned that when you studied environmental science, that there were gaps between what was taught and what you needed for your role. Or why do you think such gap exist, and what can be done to fill them?
Thank you very much for the question. It's an interesting question. First of all, when I started studying environmental science, I was taught about Kyoto Protocol, Mountain Protocol, how environmental science is evolving, what was the issues, what is COP, what are the terminologies here, key terminologies like adaptation, mitigation, and others. Now, when I started my job as a research assistant at an NGO in our country, what I saw is that you need to write some proposals, some research proposals, some project proposals. Now, when you need to write, this theory which was taught in my undergraduate, bit change. Yes, I'm using those theories like adaptation, mitigation, and others, but I need to understand the real context of that project. Suppose that we had a project in Komalganj, Sylhet, where we had an issue that the women won't want to use renewable cooking stoves. And the problem was that because the ignition system was very complex. So when I started to work with that project and I developed the proposal, I had a meeting with some international companies, even Renew India and others, then I understand that I need to learn more things, like what is international standard organization, how are they actually defining object research, how they are actually accrediting work, how the field workers can help and what problems they are facing. Also, we used Kobo data collectors. Now, in undergraduate, they didn't told me how to use Kobo data collectors, but we used other softwares. But in job, in other contexts, we use Kobo collectors, we use our softwares for data collection, even Excel. So how I can prepare those questionnaires? I needed to learn them. Now, there are many softwares available. Yes, ChatGPT came later on. Then there was YouTube videos. Then there was training in physical trainings. So yes, of course, I learned 4 years about the topic, but when implementing the knowledge, you need to learn more softwares, you need to learn more things, more experiences from the people who are writing the proposal, from the people who are scrutining them. So yes, my learning was very good in the undergraduate level, but I needed to upgrade them. I needed to make them job friendly so that what my job requires, my duty requires, I can make alignment with them. So you need to learn continuously, because now in our software we are doing that polar bear method, that we are doing that how much polar bear is reducing in the Arctic region. So you need to know the correct word to search there. What will be the correct measurement, because it's numerical values, how much polar bear is reducing every year. So I did a course under James Franklin School of Public Health so that I can know how to use this software. So there are new softwares coming and new things are coming. So I need to get improved, learn day by day so that I don't lag behind in the job sector. Also, I learn new things and get more capable. So I think the question was asked, I think I have given the answer that you need to improve, because there is no endless point that this will end. For example, if I say in climate change, last we said that nature-based solution will be a solution to us, but it is not the ultimate solution. More research, more discoveries, more innovations will come and the situation will change. We say locally led adaptation, now we're saying nature-based solution, maybe in another name. So the context is changing, the research is changing, and more things are coming. So we need to keep on learning. Even I need to keep on learning. My colleagues who are here, they are also learning every day so that they can improve in their sector. That is what I'm trying to say. I think you have got your answer. Thank you for your question. This was my answer to your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irteza Rashid, and I totally agree with your point of view, because we all need to evolve with growing economy and everything. And the next question is for Dr. Swati Gupta, and the question is, why do you think rote memorization was once valued in education system?
That was the way our education system was developed. It was developed like in the class, it just was in that four wall. We used to get our education, we used to get our knowledge, and then we have to memorize what the things are being taught in that four walls, give the exams in that four wall, and just clear it. So you just have to clear what you are aware of. That awareness is within that four walls. What is going around the world, how the world is evolving. It is once you step out of that four wall, and when you are stepping out of that four wall was so late that people, the students who were thinking about, who were memorizing, who were understanding, that understanding capability has gone altogether. So memorization was the one thing where our the that time basically they were more into that whatever is taught need to be in the brain. So for the bread it is only the memorization, but because of the technology advancement, now you don't have to memorize anything. Like I have already mentioned, when I teach in my class, students are aware of the basic concepts, they are aware of about the theories, but the in the classroom what I have to teach them now today is not about what is the theory, it is about how to apply that theory. As Professor Irteza has also mentioned about the AI, and I also talking about the AI. We all are talking about nowadays about the AI that has every day I am facing. Students are coming up with the lot of queries in terms of I can use AI. It is very simple. Like I give you I'll just share one of my experience. I was teaching financial modeling in the class. It is basically where I'm talking about Excel and all. And surprisingly, one of the students said, why I should sit in your class? I can learn Excel on YouTube. It is very easy. So what new you are teaching me in this classroom? So that is the question that need to be answered. So now memorizing is not one, because for memorization everything is there available on AI, on YouTube and everything. Now the question is how to apply that knowledge. So my answer was very simple. Yes, you are aware of YouTube has everything available. But guys, how to apply, how to create, what kind of concepts need to be add on? That is very important. That need to be understood. I know A for apple. But what about A for airplane also, A for arrow also? So you have to give them space to understand. And I always say to my students, come up with the questions, because questions create the curiosity. Don't ask, don't nowadays, don't just think about the answers. Ask them the question. What question they are looking forward, so that they come up with that kind of capability where they understand the complex problems and try to resolve it. And Professor Biradar also have mentioned about that sustainability. That sustainability is not is like I have adapted into the my life and I can do it. Sustainability is about that you are doing every day. It's just not one day task. So you have to make the student observe how you can be sustainable. So that kind of education system need to be developed. So it cannot come with the memorization, because nowadays with sorry to say, looking at you, you are a very Gen X kind of a person. Just think, now you don't want to watch a 3 hour movie. Now your movie span has reduced to 2 seconds. So just imagine in a classroom, I can't make you sit for 1 hour. I can make you sit only for 5 minutes, and I have to deliver my content in that 5 minutes. So that is what in academics the sustainability is, that it need to be a kind of a daily process where you are observing me. If I am not adapting, my students will not adapt. So there is no question of memorizing now. So that's why memorization was there, but now the memory has reduced so much that we have to make them how to adapt by observing our activities. So I hope I answered my question.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is this concept is more for Gen Alpha rather than Gen Z people.
Oh.
Because I am from I am Gen Z, and I can relate. Like, I was in my classroom, and the students everywhere were asking questions. They were graded on their power of memorization only. There was no activity related to which through which they can explore things and stuff like that. So I totally agree with that. Thank you so
Sorry,
much.
I'll just add on this because as you have already mentioned, my qualification is from US and right now I'm teaching in Australia. Surprisingly, in all these countries, you don't have closed book exam. Like you are not just memorizing it and giving the exam and you are evaluated on your answers. It is a pure open book exam. My students are allowed to carry their notes in the class for the exam, and then they have to answer the question. So just imagine what kind of question paper they are getting. They are not looking into about explain the concept, define the concept. They are looking into the complex situation and how to apply. So in our academics, we have what we call as a Bloom taxonomy, where we have levels. So we have crossed our level 1, level 2, where we are trying to understand and explain the concept. Now we are at the very higher level where we are making our students to analyze, to critically think. So that is what, if I talk about from the Indian side, Indian education system has to develop that. Still there are a lot of universities who think like open book is not good, they have all the materials in their hand. But trust me, with my international exposures, I have experienced that no, it's a very good way, because these all things are readily available. I don't have to ask my student, give me a formula. It is readily available. It is something like I am asking my student, don't use calculator for the exam, you have to do manual calculation. So calculators are there. You are not banning. So why we are banning the AI and other tools? So there is no need of memorization. It is just you have to come up with the what we have already mentioned, how to apply it. So application is very important. Thank you.
Uh, yes, thank you. And I totally agree because I have seen this difference between Indian education and foreign education. And that is the main, you know, that system of teaching system impacts the most. So let's move on to the next question. Next question is for Professor Biradar. And the question is, in your opinion, why does conventional agriculture have much massive impact on the planet, and what drives its impact?
Okay, I think it is a very, very critical questions. That's why you're shifting to the natural farming and tree-based food systems. I look at that. I said that monoculture system is very, very high intensive. Whether looking at the fertilizer, looking at the water, pesticide, herbicide, every layer is high intensive. Look into the rural economics right now, and 80% of the go the input cost. Whether you can livestock-based industry is a feedstock, agriculture it's a completely intensive, and but there is no feedback loops, right? Where everything extractive, everything take away from the land. There is no feedback. So this is where we want to the, secondly, we don't need to be doing to the kind of a seasonality in the agriculture. It should be continuous agriculture. The blend of the trees, crops and livestock go together. That's what called a integrated farming system or a traditional way of the practicing. So this is where what agriculture became a kind of, highest emissions into highest water, the fresh water consumption, highest synthetic inputs, highest energy consumption, that can readily transition to the what's called low input agriculture. This is where the 365 days green cover and imbibing that into the number of the practice they're doing it. And just to give the example here. So the take example rice, I'm giving example. Rice per 100 square, simple to keep the simplicity of the viewer here. 100 square area where I'm sitting here this much, and you will get the 2 kg of the rice, right? In the 2 kg rice means 1 kg rice required anywhere between very efficiency agriculture to the industrial agriculture, 2,500 liters to 5,000 liters per 1 kg of the rice. And that required a lot of the fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide, and harvesting, threshing, cooking, processing, everything. So 7 energy transition losses happens. In the same, you can replace the 1 cup of the rice with the one guava, that's the amrud fruit. So it's 1 cup rice produces about the 230 to 400 calories, and the same guava produces about the 400 calorie, very complex carbohydrates, nutrition, fiber, everything. And guava you can just pluck from the trees. We can eat it. There is no cook, no boil, no oil. Right? That's one. Secondly, tree added a number of layers. Rice produces 1 layer. Even you grow the 2 crops, only two layer. The land equal ratio is one to two. but the tree is the multi-layer, is the land equivalent to more than 5. That's like where you can produce a 2 kg, here produce 150 kilo. And where you get a lot of energy consumption is there. Where the putting a lot of tilling happening, labor is there, can be eliminated. That's what I call the tree-based food system in the future. So this is what how the tree is growing up, the grazing in the bottom. So that is again integrate the livestock into that one. I think this is the future. We design so many things. Let's call Nandi Krushi, cow sanctuary model, and like what called tree-based food systems, tree horticulture system. Number of 108 the models, the site specific and region specific. There where the green growth really happens. And secondly, we are producing so much and less impact on the environment. Absolutely, there are no the synthetic inputs. We can really achieve that when you bring the combination of different fruit, the herbs, crops, and livestock together. Absolutely, there is what you call where the agriculture became a highest emission, that become a really a carbon sink, and that's become a really the lever of the what's called a biggest lever to lift from the climate change aspect we're facing, from the One Health to the humanity to the climate resilience. So that's the future.
Thank you for sharing your thought. I would like to thank everyone for the answers so far, and there are some very interesting points for now. So, however, we only have a very limited time, so I would like to ask another question, and it's for Dr. Dr. Swati Gupta. And the question is, why do you think AI has become prominent in students' education journey?
Thanks for asking the question. Now, why is very difficult because it is readily available. It is something like you are asking me why Google is there in a student journey. So things will be substituting, like library has been substituted by Google. Now there need to be a time where Google need to be substituted. Now Google has been substituted by AI. So nobody now goes to a Google. It's straight away from AI. You can get all the information. And it is not only from the talking about from the academic perspective, even in our workplace also AI has taken the space of Google or email generation, presentation generation. Everything is now AI can do it, and it is very easy. Now the question here, instead of asking why, because we can't answer it because it is there available, rather how to use it, that is very important. Because using an AI is something like when Google was introduced, how Google was used. People were just taking it up and cut, copy, paste. Now, same they are doing with the AI, cut, copy, paste. But I think instead of cut, copy, paste, what I also try to share with my students, rather than doing cut, copy, paste, try to understand how to use ethically using of your AI. So when you are talking about ethically using AI, the most important thing is what is the output that you want from a AI, and that will define what kind of input you are putting into the AI. Just I have seen lot of mails which have been generated by AI, and then they ask, "Ma'am, how you get to know that this is AI generated email?" See, AI is developed by a human, and the context and the whole structure is similar from throughout. Whether you write an official email or you write a personal email, the template is the same. But as a human, if that is generated by the human, we need to know as a human what kind of input and how to use AI, so that at the last, this AI should not substitute human, should not substitute a student. And if we will be using AI here and there and without thinking about it, one day AI will substitute you, and we are giving that space. Because as I said, AI can tell you about the concept. AI cannot apply the concept. That application still is in your hand, still is in the hands of a human, because they know how this concept is applied. And once you know how it is applied, when you know what kind of input is needed in the process, you have the full control of your AI. So that is what the difference, that is what AI is there all about, is to support, is not to substitute. So I believe I have answered, and I hope your audience should understand when you are using an AI, use it not with your mind, use it with your brain. There's a huge difference between mind and brain. Use it with your brain, never use it with your mind, because if you will with your mind, it will create a nonsense. But once you create it with your use it with your brain, definitely it would be very fruitful, not only for you as a human, but for the whole economy, for the ecosystem, and for our environment as well. And this will lead to what we are talking about, the sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I would like to thank all for your insightful answers. However, we are running short of time and we are unable to ask further questions, but I would like to ask our speakers to answer the remaining questions offline. They will be sent to you soon. For our viewers, please sign up for the newsletter to get access to the Q&As and the latest updates. Also, please register for the upcoming Thrivable Matter webinar on Tuesday, February 17, 2026. We have posted the registration link in the chat, but you can also find it by going onto the website thrivabilitymatters.online. Thank you, everyone.